In 1971, Paulette Cooper wrote a book about Scientology. And Scientology and Paulette went around for years and years and years. I think she finally settled in 1986. But one of the things that they did was to steal her stationery and pen death threats. And she was arrested, and she couldn't convince anybody that she really hadn't done any of this. She didn't do anything. They also had put her name and phone number in every phone booth that they could find in Manhattan in order to get her obscene phone calls. You can imagine how they put it on the wall of the phone booth. They also added her name to the mailing lists of many pornographic publications so that she would be also treated to this literature arriving at her home. In 1971, the young life of Susan Meisner ended. Susan was 23 years old from Greeley, Colorado, and she had joined Scientology and gone aboard the Apollo. I've spoken with her father. Soon before her death, she got a letter. Her father got a letter from her, and she seemed very happy and very excited. The next thing he knew, he had a telegram from Scientology saying that she was dead. He immediately went on the plane to, I think they were in Morocco at that time. He wired that they should not bury her. He was coming for the body. He had no idea what he was up against. He tried to do a logical investigation and really failed. He found that she had already been buried by the time she was there, and the only story that he ever got from Scientology was that she had died with a white dress on, with her arms folded, the bullet hole between her eyes, and a gun in her hand. By 1972, Scientology was becoming more and more concerned about its, quote, enemies, and they had formed a formal intelligence bureau called the Guardian's Office. There was also more emphasis placed on the Commodore's Messenger Corps, the young people, the children of Scientologists on the ship who were coming to serve Hubbard more and more. And France found them fraudulent. In 1972, they instituted an operation called Snow White. Snow White was an operation to launder government files, those of the IRS, the Coast Guard, the DEA, the U.S. Attorney in Los Angeles, and in D.C., and many other places. And Ron spent much of that year in Queens. He returned to the ship in 1973 and was almost immediately injured in a motorcycle crash, and it took him 6 months to recover. He was 62 years old by this time. And they instituted a new thing, the Rehabilitation Project Force, where people who were disloyal were sentenced to all kinds of extreme behavior. In 1974, Ron requested all of his medals from the Army, 20 or so he figured he deserved. The Navy answered promptly and sent him 4. He was fearful that Switzerland was going to change its laws, so he sent some of his trusted aides to Switzerland to move the money. The aides reported that the money was in large bills and it was 4 feet high and 3 feet thick. The FBI was also beginning to ask questions, and the Guardian's Office sent Hubbard a secret message saying that they were waiting for him. So instead of going back to the United States, he went down to the Caribbean. But by 1954, his desire to come back to the United States was finally realized when they moved into Daytona and Clearwater, Florida. By 1975, too, there were so many new words that every Scientologist had to have dictionaries to look all of the words up. And they bought the Fort Harrison Hotel in Clearwater, Florida for $2.3 million in cash under the name the United Churches of Florida. And they met Mayor Gabe Cazares. Gabe is a rather jovial man, really a delight with a marvelous sense of humor. And he has now settled his case with Scientology, but he put up a gave them a really good fight in Clearwater, Florida. By 1976, Snow White was failing. The people who were in the government offices had been discovered, and one of them, Michael Meisner, was indicted. Meisner began running, and Hubbard came back to Southern California and bought a place in La Quinta near Palm Springs for $1.3 million. And in 1976, his son, Quentin, committed suicide. By 1977, they needed new things, and one of the members invented the idea of a purification rundown that would help one to better living. And Michael Meisner was tired of running and went to the FBI. As a result of that, on the 8th of July in 1977, the FBI raided Scientology's headquarters in Washington, D.C. and Los Angeles. And Hubbard went to stay in Sparks, Nevada. At this time, Jim Barry, the cartoonist, had the misfortune of writing a cartoon that said, well, I was into Est and LifeSpring and Scientology, and now I'm into money. And it showed a man standing with a pile of money around him. Well, he became the subject of another investigation by Scientology. And about 1977, we in the Cult Awareness Network were beginning to get reports of a manual called the Deprogramming Manual. It was dedicated to Ted Patrick. And it said if you wanted to deprogram anyone, you had to destroy their holy works, and you had to abuse them physically and verbally, and you had to have sex with them, and that's how you could deprogram anybody. I have no idea whether it came from Scientology or not, but there was a notation in one of the files that the FBI recovered where the Scientologists were said in their log, create deprog manual. I don't know, maybe somebody else did it. But it did get wide circulation and has caused problems for us explaining what counseling is ever since.